Kyle, I am so happy to have you here with us for the Agent Collaborative. I have been wanting to get you on here for a little while now. You are a busy man. I don't know if I ever told you the story about Peloton. Did I ever tell you the story about how I got into your circle?
You have, but you should tell those that are watching.
So before I knew our model, before I knew any of this stuff, I kept hearing about this Kyle Whissel guy at Tom Ferry. And I started following you on Instagram, started following your business. Obviously, I was always insanely impressed with the way that you presented yourself, the way that you spoke on stage, the way that you have built and scaled your business. And I was watching the growth and it was insane. And I was like, I got to figure out how I'm going to get into this guy's circle so I can at least be within proximity of you. And one day, like right when I was trying to scheme my way on how I was going to become friends with you, you put up a post on Facebook and you said something about, hey guys, if anybody needs to be a part of an accountability group, a Peloton. I didn't have a Peloton, didn't like Pelotons. I don't like cycling. I absolutely despise it more than anything in this world. But I was like, hey, I have a Peloton. Can I go ahead and get signed up? Because the office building that we were in did have one. So I immediately ordered mine. So I'd have one at home. We had the one here at the office and I joined your Peloton group, which gave me closer proximity to you because we had a Facebook Messenger group and our friendship obviously started to grow from there. But you have genuinely been such a huge, huge piece to how we've been able to scale and grow our business. And how I've seen you've had that same impact with so many others in so many other people's businesses and in their lives. And I just want to tell you, dude, I am so insanely grateful for you, your contributions in my life, personally and in business. It means the world to me, obviously means the world to my team. And we're just super grateful for you and grateful to have you on here.
Love it, man. Well, I appreciate that, bro. Where's the Peloton now?
Peloton, I'm still actually using it. And I truly do. Like, I think I wake up every morning and I'm like, I hate Kyle because he got me stuck on this thing, but it's such an insanely good exercise in 30 minutes. I tried to go do something else, but it took an hour to burn the same amount of calories. So I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this miserable Peloton. So we still do it. He's up every day at 5:30 doing the 5 a.m. Peloton squad. If anybody needs an accountability group, they may be taking new members.
There you go.
Well, cool, man. There has been a ton changing in the market, obviously, with interest rates, with inventory, with demand dropping. What are you guys seeing? You're in San Diego. We're in Orange County, your next door neighbor. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are seeing and where things are headed, in your opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's important. Normally we don't like date stamp things, but anytime we're talking about the market in 22, I think you kind of have to date stamp things. So we're recording this July 14th, just for anybody who's watching or listening. Because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow in this crazy economy. Yeah, I mean, I am not the guy who's going to run away from what's happening in the market. I think there's too many people out there, too many realtors who are, whether they don't accept reality or they want to deny reality or they are just oblivious. Like the market is going down right now. Like anybody who says it's not is full of shit. We've already seen some prices slide, and I am a econ geek. I have a degree in economics, charts and graphs. I get a high off of reading and understanding those. And if you look at the most recent data that came out for San Diego, and you look at the closed sales price in June versus May, there was a dip, which should be more concerning than people think, because they're like, well, yeah, June interest rates changed. They did. But what closed in June didn't go under contract in June. It went under contract in May or maybe even April. So the little bit of dip that we've already seen is what happened 2-3 months ago, right? What happened in June when you saw rates shoot past 6%, like we haven't even seen those numbers come out yet. Those numbers aren't going to come out until probably August. Yeah. And that's when we'll really start to see how much we've slid. So I do not deny in any way, shape or form that the market has slid down. And that it's going to continue to slide. I don't know how far though. That's the part that I'm not sure of. And I think anybody who says they know, oh, we're going to rebound this time or we're going to stay going down for 2.6 years. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're just literally making it up, right? Like Here's what I can confidently tell you is I think we'll continue to slide through Q3. My best guess, knowing every piece of data that I know and studying everything that's out there, is I think we'll probably flatten out in Q4 because I think rates will stabilize. I think a lot of what you're seeing right now and why buyers are out of the market is it's just too volatile and people just freak out. Anytime there's volatility, it's not a time that most people take action. Most people freeze up. So I think you've seen a lot of people freeze up. I think once rates start to stabilize and people just accept that, like, rates in the fives is the new norm, people get back in the game. But rates have been moving so fast lately that terrifies most people. And I think statistically, somewhere around 60% of people are high S's on a disc profile, and high S's don't like volatility. So I think you're just seeing a lot of people take a step back. I think we might stabilize, toward the end of the year, and potentially see a very small upswing next year. That's my best guess at this point.
Well, and that's kind of, we felt back in, obviously in March when everything started to shift. I don't know if you've ever taken off out of John Wayne Airport, but in order to ensure that they don't bother Newport Coast, which is some of the most expensive real estate in California, there's a bunch of noise complaints from the jets. So when they take off and they tell you, if you've never taken off out of this airport, it's going to be different. You're going to feel the acceleration. We're going to take off at a much higher incline than what you're used to. But then after they take off, and it is ferocious when it happens, they pull off the throttles to quiet down the jets, and you almost suspend in midair, and you feel like your stomach rise, and it's a weird feeling. And the market did that. Like, as soon as interest rates went up, we had that complete stall from nowhere. The market was going breakneck speeds, and it was like somebody pulled on the e-brake while we were driving on the 405. Yeah. And once the dust started to settle a little bit, we definitely saw an increase. But it's funny, each set of headlines that come out, you feel that pull of the throttles. You feel people kind of hop back on the fence and see what this is all going to mean. You have a team of agents who obviously you lead very successfully. You have always been a successful agent yourself. These shifts and changes in the market do have a lot of people very scared. It has people very fearful. From talking to you and being a part of our masterminds, know that you see the opportunity in any and all markets. What are you doing with your agents? What are you seeing with them to kind of help them realize that they got to stop looking at this through a lens of fear and start looking at it through a lens of opportunity? Yeah.
So, I got probably 100 things on a list that I can go through. We'll try to hit a few of them today. But I heard this analogy today, and it ties into driving and an e-brake. That I've never heard before. And this makes so much sense in this market. If you're ever driving on a freeway, and you used to live in Vegas, right? Like, there's 1-lane roads all over the place out there and people going 100 miles an hour. Whenever you drive on these 1-lane roads, 1 lane going each direction, there ultimately ends up being points where you can actually cross over the center divide, or they open up a passing lane so that you can get past somebody who's going slower. Yeah. And you probably haven't realized this, but the majority of the time, those passing lanes are when you're on an uphill. And the reason that they do that is because they know the person that wants to go fast, whenever there's an opportunity, even if it's on an uphill, they're going to put the pedal to the metal and they're going to go. Where the person that's going slow, that's holding people back, whether that be a semi truck or just somebody who drives slow as hell, when they get on an uphill, they actually tend to go a little bit slower. And so they intentionally make these passing lanes so that when you get on an uphill, the slow people get over to the side, the people want to go fast, put the pedal to the metal. And we're in that place right now. We're on this uphill. And you got to decide, are you going to be the slow person who's going to slide over? Or are you going to be the person that puts the pedal to the metal and makes the pass? Because that's the opportunity that's in front of us today. We're in that uphill battle, and you have two choices, and you got to make one.
That's interesting. One, thanks for sharing that. You'll notice I have a pen in my hand. Anytime Kyle speaks, I always make sure I have a pen in my hand because I know there's going to be multiple things that he says that I'm going to apply in our business, and I'm going to rip that off and use that probably 100 times from now until August. I
ripped it off from somebody else, so it's okay.
But no, it's definitely, you've been through 2008. I was in 2008 in Las Vegas. In fact, that's the year that I got into the business. And I was a young, dumb kid and I didn't know any better. So when I got in excited, ready to go, and everybody was tapping me on the back saying, good luck, kid, this business sucks. It's like, I didn't know any better. I was digging a ditch in 115-degree heat. What we were going through and that hard for them was not hard for me because that's all I knew. And I don't think we're going into this 2008 downside of values the way that we did back then. But I see a lot of people that are terrified because they are so accustomed to what was and it no longer is. But I saw some of the biggest, most badass teams and agents were born in 2008. And I think today we're going to see the biggest, baddest, meanest teams. One, some of the ones that are already here are just going to get bigger and badder. And I think we're going to see the birth of a lot of badasses in this industry because they're not spoiled by 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And so I definitely.
The nitrous bottle has worn out. There's no more nitrous left in the tank.
Yeah. Well, now the skill set is coming back into it. Like we were fishing with fish were in a bucket and we were using dynamite. And now there's skill set that comes into play. There's an articulation of the market. There's our processes and everything that we do to continue this. It's just, I'm personally excited for it. I know you have some things that you would recommend that agents need to do to, one, make sure that they do put their foot on the gas and to make sure that they do grow and continue to be successful in this industry. Walk us through some of those.
Yeah. So one of the things that you're going to see in a market like this is people are going to go to those that they know, like, and trust more than ever. They're going to do a lot less going online and doing their own research. They're going to go to who they see as the expert. And it's so important. Like, I mean, you work with some of we won't drop any names at all, but you work with some of the same vendor partners that we do. And they're struggling to provide the lead count that we're all expecting because there's a lot less people going on, a lot less people doing searches. And if you're relying if your business relies on internet leads, like it's going to be a little tough for you. Your cost per lead is going to go up or your quantity is going to go down or both, right? I really recommend that anybody who's watching or listening today, like really focus on your existing database more than going and chasing a million new lead sources. Focus on your existing database first, because that is and always will be your number one source of business as long as you are in this business. You can ask any realtor who's 5+ years in the business. That's going to be, you could interchange number 1 and 2 are always going to be like sphere, past client, referral, like any combination thereof. It's always what's at the top of the list. You've got to double down on that right now. You've got to be more present than ever with your past clients and with your sphere. You've got to quit chasing all the shiny objects. And, you know, like we talked a little bit about you're having some success with social with like short form video. But here's the thing, for every one person you can show me that is successful with short form video, I'll show you 1,000 who are successful working their database.
Yeah.
And the problem is we go to these different events and different coaches and speakers and podcasts and webinars, and everybody wants to tell you about like the new trend on TikTok and all this stuff. And again, there are people who are successful. I have close friends who are successful, but for every one of them, there's 1,000 that are more successful working their database and their sphere of influence. But the coaches don't talk about that stuff because it's not sexy. It's not fun. Like going and posting a video on TikTok and getting 1 million views, that feels really freaking cool. And so therefore the coaches talk about it because that's fun and that's sexy and it's edgy. But the reality of it is like the core of your business is and always will be and should be your existing database, past client sphere, and your referral partners. Like we got to go harder on that, because all of those people, when they're thinking about doing something, you want to be that person who's top of mind, because they're going to go to the person that they know, like, and trust. They're not going to just go to the internet and click on a bunch of random headlines. They're going to be like, hey, Colton, like, I know you're killing it in this real estate game. Like, we're thinking about doing something. What do you think we should do? Like, I just had a friend who used to live here in California, and they're up in Washington, and they're like, hey, we're thinking about buying right now. Should we be doing that? Should we not? Like, they're not even in my state, but they know, like, we know Kyle, we know he's in real estate. He knows what he's talking about. Like, let's talk to him first before we go do something. And you want to be that same person that your clients reach out to, because that's going to happen far more in a shifting market. People are going to go to the people they know, like, and trust far more than they are the internet. And you're seeing that with the internet lead providers are struggling to hit the numbers that they want.
Yeah. Can we dive a little bit further into that? So and because there's not only with new agents, we see it with very experienced agents who have absolutely no retention plan. They have no clue how they're going to retain the clients in it. Like for us, for the longest time, I considered us a lawnmower without a bag. Like we were order takers. We literally were generating, and my answer was always, we need more leads. And it wasn't until we got finally figured it out through numerous mistakes over and over and over again that we don't need more leads. We just need to do more with what we've got. And so we finally got really intentional and put a bag on the lawnmower to make sure that we captured every blade of grass that we cut. Kind of what are some of your top strategies in order to, one, stay in touch with your existing database? And then two, if you're a new agent without a huge sphere, what do they do to stay in contact with people who know them, love them, and trust them?
Yeah. So I'll hit on one of the things that we do for past clients. Obviously, we don't have a lot of past clients. This doesn't apply, but there's a company called Client Giant. And we're huge fans of them. I mean, you can literally pay $100 a year and they will have 4 really nice, thoughtful gifts delivered to your past clients, one per quarter throughout the year for $100. And like these gifts are really nice. Like they're not giving them like cheap little tchotchkes, like, a pen with your name on it or something stupid. Yeah. Like these are really high quality gifts. And that's huge to stay in front of those people on a consistent basis, because the reality of it is most agents, as soon as the transaction's done, they never talk to that client again, where you're actually still gifting your clients on and it's sporadic. It's not like it's coming on their birthday, their anniversary. These gifts just kind of come randomly out of the blue, which those gifts actually have more of an impact than the ones that come around specific days. So we have 4 gifts a year that go out to those clients. We're really big on doing client events. So we do 4 client events per year. And some of you might say, well, I don't have a whole bunch of clients. Good. It's easier for you. Yeah. We just had an event. There were like 600 people. And I got to talk to maybe 20 of the 600 people. Like,
you guys had 600 people at your event?
Yeah, we just did a barbecue. We had like 600. We had 97 people show up that didn't even RSVP. It was crazy.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Now, before we go, and I want to keep going deep on that, but like I've seen people run an event, didn't get the traction that they wanted it, so they don't run it again. I'd imagine since you started your version 1 events, version 2, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 1, they start to gain more traction, and 2, you learn what works and you learn what doesn't.
Well, you also learn, I don't care if they show up to the event. Yeah. It's not about them showing up to the event. Sure, that's great if they do. It's me getting in front of my database on a consistent basis and not always asking about real estate, not being like, do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Here's what's for sale. Here's what your home is worth. Like not hitting them with real estate content. It gives me an opportunity to reach out to my entire database and say, hey, Colton, hey, I want to give you a heads up. We're doing a party. Like our next one, we're announcing something really big. We're going to announce something really cool. Want to invite you, sneak peek. We're only doing this for like our most, VIP clients. I'd love for you to be there. And at that point, they're like, they feel good, right? Like they got invited to something special, VIP, whether they come or not. Everybody wants to get invited to the party, right? Yeah. Nobody's ever been mad they got invited to a party. You've only been mad when you didn't get invited. And so people feel good getting invited. And as people get older, that's stuff they actually care about more, because you start to have less friends and smaller circles and you start getting invited to stuff. It feels cool. Like people like that. But now I got in front of my database with a non-real estate message. I was just inviting them to a party. And now when we have that conversation, a lot of times they're like, oh, Kyle, I've been meaning to call you. We were thinking about moving. Or like one of my guys who came to my barbecue we just did, he shows up to the barbecue and then he's like, oh, by the way, we're going to need to sell our house. We're moving to Orange County. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like I got you. Like I didn't have to bring that up. I just invited him to the party, hung out, threw some cornhole with him, had a beer. And then he's like, oh, by the way, we need to sell our house. Like that's great.
Which by the way, is the best way to talk business with somebody when there's no pressures. I'm not saying an open house is pressure, but it's a completely different dynamic. It's a completely different type of conversation and a totally different relationship that's going to get built in that setting, having a beer, playing cornhole, than any other setting that we can create.
For sure.
How important is the hard invite?
So I'll tell you everything we do. And you obviously don't have to do anytime you hear, whether it's me or anybody else that you're listening to, like you don't have to do everything other people do. You build up to it. Like we always are adding layers and layers and layers on these things. So you might start with 1 or 2 layers and then add 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to, where we're at. So don't compare my chapter 20 to your chapter 1.
Yeah.
Right. Like you got to get from 1 to 20. So it's okay to start with, maybe you do half of this, but we mail invitations. I'll grab one. We do the same thing for open houses as we do for client events. So like handwritten fonts, and like really nice. This is one for an open house, but our client event invites are the same thing. Like really nice card stock, like high quality invitations.
Yeah.
When people get something like that in the mail for a party, that stands out to them. Like it goes beyond the junk that they're used to getting in the mail. So we send them a mailed invitation first. Then we send emailed invitations. Something I've learned running a team. So for those of you that are watching that are team leaders, we used to tell our agents, hey, if you want us to email your clients, send us your list by this date. And guess what? Like none of the agents ever sent the list. So we switched it and said, hey, we're going to send invites to your clients unless you tell us not to by this date. And guess what? They did nothing.
Yeah.
Anytime you guys are going to do something, you're just going to do nothing. So now none of that out. Now we send the email for them. So we have the hard mail go out, then we have the email go out, and then now it's on the agent to make the phone calls and send the text messages. And so we like having the hard mail and the email go out, because now when you're calling, now you're just following up. Hey, Colton, I want to make sure you got the invite we sent you. It's an easier phone call than that phone call completely coming out of left field. So then it goes into a phone call, and then it goes, if you don't answer, it goes into a text message. And so if you get that database, like whether you do 2 events a year, 3, 4, like think about, they're getting hard mail, email, phone call, text, like that's 4 hits multiple times per year. When you're not asking for business, you're not talking business, you're just inviting them to, we did a movie night, then we did our barbecue. We're going to announce a big partnership that we locked down at a really unique venue. And then we do a Santa Claus, like holiday party thing. So like those are our 4 events this year. And those are 16 hits with content that has nothing to do about real estate, just inviting them to parties. So now it's like, when you hit them with real estate content, it's not like overwhelming to them when you're hitting them with the real estate content, because it's like you mixed it up and you did a little pattern interrupt.
Yeah. And what you said about Client Giant, and taking it back even further. So when I first got into a room with Kyle and Dan and all the people that are in our mastermind, what he just said, it is the most intimidating thing in the world. And it still is. Like, to me, it's still intimidating, just because you know the level of talent, you know the level of success, you know the level of growth that all these people are having. And for me, I love that environment, because you hear it all the time and it's total cliche, and most people are completely full of it. Like, I don't want to be the smartest in the room, but you watch their egos, and yeah, they do. They do want to be the smartest one in the room, and they don't want there to be people who are more successful and who are more intelligent. I have learned so much from you guys, but when you go back to that very first phone call and you hear the depth that your businesses go, it is terrifying. But he said the same thing back then to me that I still try to tell everybody else, because they'll see where you're at and they're like, well, I'm nowhere close to that. It's like, for sure. When this started and we had an Excel spreadsheet, and then we moved it to a CRM, or this started by us manually licking envelopes and sending it out to a farm. This started with just me, and now it's turned into a team. There are the steps that you inevitably have to take to create version 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. We have a friend, Mark Pattison.
I used to print things like this. I used to print them on like an inkjet printer in my office myself. And like, I had to figure out how to make the lines line up on the paper, and like, how do I get it to print on the envelope? And how do I mail merge this shit together? Like, that's where I started, right? Like, and now we just pay people money and they make this stuff happen. But like, I was literally in the office on the floor, like stuffing and stamping envelopes. Like, again, don't compare my chapter 20 to your chapter 1.
You got to earn it. Everything is earned and nothing is given. If it was easy, everybody would have your level of success. Mark Pattison, he's a buddy of ours in San Diego. And when I first got into your guys' group, we would be in a call and I would talk to him like a day later, and he had already implemented half of it. And I was like, oh, Well, I was kind of thinking about, and it's like all these people who try, and I was the same person, and it's trying to put together this perfect plan. And Mark told me, he's like, we're an airplane that's literally fixing things while we're in the air. Like while we're flying it, we're fixing it. And it really has been not worrying about perfection, not overthinking it, releasing it, being okay with the negative feedback, taking that feedback, making the adjustments and creating the different versions. So the client, like in regard to events, what would you say is the most successful event that you've done that an agent should probably start with?
I think a simple happy hour works amazingly well.
Yeah.
Like, don't overthink it that it has to be something huge. And don't, like, when you're starting, call it like, hey, we're going to have a little intimate get together. Yeah. And then what is intimate? I don't know. Is there a definition to like an intimate get together? If 5 people show up, okay, that was pretty intimate. If 50 people show up, we could call that intimate too. Like, what does that mean? So don't be like, oh, we're gonna have this huge event, there's gonna be a ton of people, like, and nobody shows up, and then he looks weird. Like, oh, we're gonna have a little get together. We're gonna have this, this little event. Like, just start something small, but a simple happy hour is great. I love movie theater events. The movie theater is one of my favorites because it's really easy. Yeah. You don't have a whole lot of like the barbecue is a shit ton of work. That's the hardest one by a mile.
I was going to say that sounds like a lot of work.
You got a face painter and a bubble person and a DJ and food and like it's a lot. The barbecue.
Dude, I'm coming to your events from now on. I'm just going to invite my clients to those.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe I'll have you come down for the special one that's coming up. I'm not even allowed to talk about it, which is funny, but it's cool. Not yet. But the movie thing's so easy. You just rent out the movie theater and you'll be like, well, I don't have a lot of people. Cool. Then get a really small movie theater. Like that's okay. But you just rent the whole movie theater out. You have people show up, you mix and mingle in the lobby. You maybe do a raffle while they're waiting for the movie to start. People watch whatever the new movie is. They have a good time and they remember it. Like it's an easy event to do.
No, I love that.
And again, happy hours to the wine bar. You could do like a paint and sip kind of thing. Like don't overthink it. You got to do big extravagant events. Something simple. Basic happy hour is totally fine. And this, as your clients come, tell them, hey, come see me and I'll give you a drink ticket. Now they have to come talk to you. Like they're opening up conversations with you and then you give them their drink ticket. So that way you at least have a conversation with everybody who's there and shake their hand and say hi.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Don't overthink it.
So we've dove into past clients. What else?
Another one I think is really important. You got to know your USPs and you got to have USPs because as the market we're going into for the longest time, a seller they were just like, hey, can you sell my house? And boom, it was easy. There was no skill. There was nothing involved. Like for the last few years, we were not competing with a whole lot of agents. Like it was not a competitive thing because it didn't take a lot of skill. Everybody knew anybody could sell a home, but that's not the case anymore. There's going to be a lot of listings that expire, a lot of listings that cancel, and people are going to start to realize that all agents aren't created equal. And so people are going to interview more agents. They're going to interview more than one agent. You might be going up against, we're seeing it already, where you're going against 2, 3, 4, 5 people that you're going up against. Yeah. If you're going into those appointments and your USPs are professional photos and you're going to put it on like websites and you're going to do an open house, like that's going to be a long road for you. You're going to get your ass kicked a lot. Yeah. So you got to have some USPs that make you different than other people. But here's the thing, they don't really have to be that different. Yeah. So something I learned is if you could just take a process that you already have and give it a name, it now becomes something that nobody else has. So Dan has one he's called a 5-day blitz. Ours is called the 7-day listing launch. Yours could be, Colton's crazy 6-day market launch blitz, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you take the things that you already do, package it up, give it a name, and now it becomes something. So when a seller says like, what makes you different? Like, oh, well, we actually have and now we took this to another level and not only gave it a name, but got the name trademark. Oh, we have our 7-day listing launch that's actually been recognized by the US Patent and Trademark Office. And here's what it is. And this is how we've used it to sell X amount of homes. And now the competition is like, I take pretty photos. Yeah. I put it online. And you're coming with a trademarked process. And they're like, holy shit. So make sure you nail down, what are your USPs? And if you can give your processes or processes, however you prefer to say it, a name and make it into something, like there's all these things that we always have done for buyers, and we package it up and call it our VIP buyer program.
Yep.
As a name, you might do all the same exact things that I do. You just haven't given it a name. When you give it a name, it starts to become something. And now when people ask, like, why should I work with you? What makes you different? Or, maybe you're taking some of these lead sources where you just have to run to the house and go show them a property. How are you going to get that person to want to come back and work with you? Well, you got to have something unique. You got to have an offering that nobody else has offered them so that they want to work with you. So I would encourage you to go back and look at, can you answer that question? What makes you different, or what makes you unique? And if you can't answer that question, you're going to have a really long road ahead.
So I'll tell you right now, and it's funny you bring this up because we didn't have this conversation at all, but I'm in another mastermind and there's wildly successful agents in this mastermind. And I said, hey guys, obviously it's getting more competitive. What is your unique value proposition? Because I really hadn't heard many that reach out, grab you by the throat and tell the client, like, this is who I have to work with. And some of these wildly successful agents doing $4 or $5 million a year, and like, we create a memorable experience and we cover the paperwork and we handle this and we handle that. And I'm like, are you kidding me that that's actually your response? Like that, it really can't be. So unique value proposition ideas that you have for sellers. I know you got the 7-day listing launch. You get little nuggets. Like Dan has said stuff, like a couple words that just have stuck with me. And we make sure that we implement it into everything we do in the business. This is one of the things that you told me a long time ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. And I'm super grateful for it. And it's like, if you want it to mean something, call it something. Yeah. And exactly what you just went through. And now everything that we release, we're like, okay, are we calling enough things what they are? Yeah. So for sellers, ideas of some value propositions for people, the 7-day listing launches, what other ideas could you give people?
Yeah, I mean, other USPs we've added. So I've followed Craig Proctor. He's an interesting dude. His approach is very different. But man, he's added these guarantees. Like, you start putting guarantees on there as well. So pretty much any realtor, let's be honest, like Colton, if a seller calls you, is pissed off, like, Colton, this isn't working, you're shitting the bed, your communication sucks, like, I'm not happy with how things are going, like, we want to cancel, we're done. You're going to cancel, right?
Yeah.
We all will. No, you're not going to be like, no, you're stuck with me for 6 more months. Sorry, bitch. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to cancel. Yeah. Why not put that out there up front?
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know what? We're so confident that we're going to do an amazing job for you that we have a cancel anytime guarantee. So if at any point during the process, you're not happy with the level of service that we're providing, just give us a heads up and we'll cancel listing in 72 hours. We're that confident we're going to deliver for you.
Which, by the way, is so important.
Do that already anyway. Like, it's not like you're not doing anything you wouldn't already do. You're not going to tell the seller, no, you won't cancel the listing. You're going to let them go.
Yeah.
So give it a name.
That's one of those things that we've done, and it's worked really well because nobody walks in and tells the seller, I'm not a very experienced agent. I don't have a good photographer. I don't have good marketing. I'm not going to be able to sell your home for the highest price. I'm not going to be able to do it in the shortest amount of time. We know how every agent goes in and we know what they say during their listings. It's like, I know what a challenge that is for you as a seller. You have all these people walking through the day, what I call walking through the door with what I call first date behavior. And it's not until that contract signed that the real behaviors and the real level of expertise and or lack of presents itself. And it's like, when we were able to offer them the cancellation guarantee, it does give them peace of mind. And a lot of people are very, very comfortable with that. Because at any given point in time, you feel I'm not performing the way that I told you we're going to perform. You shouldn't be stuck with me, and you should have the ability to go hire somebody else who's going to get you the result that you need. Yep. And you see people and they just go, oh, wow, awesome. Great. And again, we didn't do anything, because if they get upset over us anyway, they're going to cancel, like Kyle just said. Like, it really is just the smallest little adjustments. Yep. I think one of the hard, unique value propositions for a lot of agents right now, and I think it's like, I'm excited because now we are winning with buyers, like in a really serious way. And before, when it was, you just got to offer the most amount of money and it's with the least amount of contingencies, and how fun, like, it really sucked. I hated that market. But now skills coming back into it. So unique value propositions as a buyer's agent. What are some ideas that you have?
Yes, I mean the biggest things that we do is we can turn a buyer into a cash buyer, which is a huge USP. So there's
Yeah.
multiple companies that offer services like this. Find the one in your market. HomeLight is one that we work with, but we can take our buyer with as little as 5% down and we can turn them into a cash buyer.
Yeah.
And now you might say, well, you don't need to be a cash buyer in this market. You don't. But guess what you do get if you're a cash buyer? You get a fat discount, right? In the market we were in, you had to be a cash buyer to get your offer accepted. In this market where there's so much more uncertainty, where there's a way higher fall through rate than there's been in maybe forever. I mean, there was some stats that Redfin put out about the number of deals that are canceling. It's a huge number.
Really?
Now you find those deals that canceled with somebody else and you come in there and you come in with a cash deal, you are very, very attractive to that seller because that gives that seller certainty. And we talked a little bit earlier that the majority of people on this earth are high S's. And if you can give them that safety, that security, that this is a done deal and you can close in a week or two, like that becomes a very attractive offer. And a very attractive offer means you can get a very attractive price. And so that would be another example. So obviously we have the VIP buyer program I mentioned where we package something up. But then another thing is our cash close program where we can turn a 5% down buyer into a cash buyer.
Yeah. One we've been having a ton of success with, and even just creating, because we're huge on buyer consultations. I think we do people a huge disservice by just showing properties until they find the right one and then figuring out all the details. I think it's pretty reckless. However, does it work? Of course it does. And do we do that? Of course we do, because there's people who don't want to meet. But when we were wildly successful at securing buyer consultations, it was when the market was so incredibly competitive to where you knew as an agent, if I don't do this, and if I don't get this person to sit down for a consultation, I'm going to go show 30 houses. We're going to go write 40 offers. we're going to do all of these things. And by the time we find the perfect home, they're going to fall in love with the house. And they're not going to be ready. They're not going to have their ducks in a row. And you're going to miss out on this perfect opportunity. And it's because you as the agent did not prepare them for what it was going to take. We hadn't had the appraisal waiver contingencies. We hadn't talked about inspections. We hadn't talked about finding any of the things that we need to do to write a competitive offer. So our agents knew, because they knew they'd get their asses kicked if they didn't do it, that they had to get these consultations. Well, now that the market's getting easier, I've noticed our buyer consultation numbers going way down. And it's equally as important today. And the problem is the agents are like, well, what are we going to talk about? Not the color of the cabinets, not the type of floor plan that we're looking for. Like none of that stuff's what we're going to discuss. But one of the big things that we've been doing that's working to secure those appointments is we can increase a buyer's buying power by up to $75,000 to $100,000, and we can show them the exact strategy that we're using to obtain that. And the only thing we're doing is having the seller pay 1, 2, 2.5 points. Sometimes now even we just got one with 3 point of an interest rate buy down. It increased their buying power by $112,000 in our market. It's like, that's substantial. People's biggest complaint and their biggest objection is that they're priced out, or the type of home that they were looking for just got a whole lot more expensive on the monthly rate. Sellers are to a point now where we can actually get them to buy down the rate, and it works really well. But we got to at least, 1, understand how it works, 2, be able to sell it and articulate it to a client so they see the value in working with you. Because there's just too many agents now doing the whole Vanna White thing, and they walk in, here's a kitchen, here's a bathroom. It's like, dude, they don't need you for that. Like truly, if that's what we are doing, those agents are in for, I think they're in for a rough go in this changing market.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing too in this market is you got to find out what's the motivation. Because if you don't know the motivation, you actually got to like close people now.
Yeah.
Like, they don't close themselves like they have been. Like you actually got to close people. You got to help them come to the realization that this is the right house for them based on the motivation that they've told you. And if you're not doing a consultation, which I understand there's some appointments you got to just go and show, cool. But you've got to be able to piggyback a consultation on the back end of that, whether it be the same day and you say, hey, cool, awesome, I'll see you there at 2:00. And if you're cool with it, I'd love to grab a coffee with you. There's a Starbucks around the corner, and we could sit down for 30 minutes or so, and I can just kind of walk you through the whole process, get you up to speed on the market. Does that sound good to you? Cool. Now you can go and have that consultation and really get to understand their motivation, because you got to be able to close somebody when they're looking at a house. And like, all right, my wife is 8 months pregnant right now. Like, Could you see how great it would be to have all this extra space, and that extra bedroom would be so perfect to put the nursery for Remy over there? Like, when you can start saying that at your showings versus like, oh, there's another room over there, versus, oh, that room would be so perfect for your baby, right? Like, when you can start having those conversations and you can start tying into the motivation of why somebody wants that house, bigger house, smaller house, 1-story, 2-story, pool, view, whatever, like when you can tie into the motivation, you can close. But if you don't know what their motivation is, you're screwed. And so every time one of my agents comes to me and we have like a deal doctoring question, first thing I'm asking them is, what's the motivation? I won't even help my agents if they don't know the motivation. Because if we get into like, and it's always like, oh, well, the payment's a little bit too high for them. Okay, well, why are they buying the house? Well, because, they're living with their parents and their parents are moving out of state. Okay, let's talk more about that. One, getting out of your parents' house, and two, having a place to go when your parents are out of state. Like, let's focus on that, not the $50 a month their payment's going to change.
Yeah.
The counter. Like, screw the numbers, screw the market, screw inflation rate. Like, none of that matters. Like, let's get them out of their parents' house before their parents leave and get them excited about having their own house. Like, let's stay focused on that motivation side. So I think people need to dig deeper and really get the true motivation beyond it has pretty cabinets.
Yeah. The two biggest obstacles for bad lead converters: they don't collect enough data, they don't collect enough information, and two, they have absolutely no ability to sell their value to the people that they're communicating with. And just that little psychological switch that you make in your mind, that you have to identify what they're running from, the pain that everybody's running from, pain and towards pleasure. What are they running from? What are they running towards? And having that information is going to help you. And we're not trying to talk somebody into buying a house that doesn't want to buy a house. I don't think that's what Kyle means when he says close, but it is being able to guide somebody and get them out of their own way. Fear is rampant right now. 8%, there was just that article that was released and they showed the study where only 8% of people's fears actually come true. Are people fearful right now? Yeah, of course they are. Is the majority of what people are fearing going to come true? Most likely right now, no. But we need to be able to identify what that stuff is. And Kyle, I don't want to keep you here all day, but I know you got a couple other points. Any others on there that you think we absolutely need to go over for people?
Yeah, I just think the last one I want to leave you guys with is just when it comes to listings right now, which you're going to have a lot more listing opportunities than you've had in a long time, is the pricing and the preparation is so much more important in this market. If you overprice a property coming out of the gate, it is going to be a pain in the ass listing for you, because you are going to end up on the defense constantly trying to defend yourself on why you priced it the way you did, and that you're actually trying to market the home. And it's the market, it's not me. And like, it's a horrible thing. So you need to really go in and do a refresher on pulling comps. I know that's something we're doing in our office, is really making sure our agents know how to pull comps accurately. And you need to spend twice as much time on comps as you were, because before you could miss on price and it would still sell. But if you miss on price today, that might be 6 months of hell, right? Assuming you sign a 6-month listing agreement where you're getting yelled at every week or two. Don't do that. Go harder and really nail down how to pull comps, spend extra time on it, and understand the comps better than anybody, because you're still going to go and compete against another agent, and the other agent's going to come in and tell them some crazy ass price. You got to be able to help the seller realize that that crazy ass price is going to end up costing them money in a declining market, because they're going to come in too high and now they're going to have to chase the market down. And you got to help them understand why your price is accurate by showing them the comps and articulating why the price needs to be what it needs to be. So that, and just the presentation, because now when somebody goes into a neighborhood where before there was one home with 10 offers on it, now there's 10 homes with no offers on them. Well, why is somebody going to buy your home versus the other 10 homes that are out there? And so you got to nail that presentation of the property as well, because if that property doesn't stand out from everything else in the neighborhood, you're going to just sit there stale. So I just want to encourage you to really go in hard on price and preparation and understand those things. Read as many articles as you can, watch as many videos as you can, but really understand those comps inside and out. If you got time, especially if you're newer, like go drive the comps, like physically go drive by the comps, walk through the comps if you can, like really know the competition. And that's going to help set you apart at the appointment, and it's going to help you set the right price.
I think too many people don't realize when you go and you meet with a buyer and you're meeting with a seller, you need to play defense. And granted, you don't see your competition there. It's not football. You're not about to get tackled and wiped off the field. However, you do have to go into the appointment, and what Frank, what Frank doesn't work for you. What Kyle just said about being able to articulate the market, like he's setting a framework so that the next person that they talk to, they're going to have the information that's going to pinpoint and highlight the things that this person is saying that are wrong. So you can discredit your competition without even hearing what they have to say, because you know the type of agents that are out there. You know the information that they're going to say. You know what they're going to do to try to buy the listing. So when we go in, understand, while you don't see your competition directly, we 100% have to set a framework that allows us to play defense against the people that we know we're going to be competing against. And I see so many people now, like in our team, we see a lot of agents scared to tell the truth. Your clients need to hear the truth. Otherwise, you're going to cost them an absolute fortune. And frankly, the agents who don't have the ability to do it, don't destroy these people's financial future. Like, don't destroy the end result that a good agent could get them. Let somebody like Kyle take it over. And I know nobody ever will, but you just see the mistakes that they make and how much money it ends up costing the client. And it sucks.
100%, dude. Yeah. Just know your shit right now. Like it's a skills-based market. Like you've got to go back and focus on your skills. You don't need more new lead sources. You don't need to shoot more TikTok videos. Like go back, nail down your USPs, understand your presentations, understand how to price a property, understand how to prep a property to go on the market. Like there's so much that you need to focus on that. You don't need a whole bunch of new stuff. Just double down, put the pedal to the metal, and just gas up that hill and pass everybody by.
Yeah, we were on a call this morning, and an agent on a mastermind said, hey guys, what are you doing? Like, what's the big thing that you're going to go do to make sure that you can stay ahead of the market? And everybody's got like all these crazy ideas. And it's like, I'm just going to work a lot harder. I'm going to work a lot smarter, and we're going to do a lot more with less, because we're going to get more tactical in our approach. We're going to sharpen our axe. We're going to be more skillful, and we'll have mastery. And when we do that, I really believe there's going to be teams and agents that, even with less volume and with less leads and with less everything that's happening, we can still do more with less.
Totally.
So, dude, thank you so much for doing this. I would be remiss if I didn't say you have changed my life. You have changed my family's life. You have given me a business that I am truly, truly, truly proud to be able to lead. And the impact that you have, I hope you go to bed every single night knowing how big that impact is.
Appreciate that, man.
All right, brother.
Really
thank you.